start this
We
off?
have no idea how this is structured at all.
Okay, well, Evil Dead Rising.
Evil Dead Rise.
Evil Dead Rise.
Evil Dead Rise.
I think Evil Dead Rising would have been better.
True, but I guess it makes you think of too much of Metal Gear Rising Revengeance.
I've never heard of that. Was that a real thing? Oh, that's what that reminds you of?
That title, yeah.
Okay. So what are your thoughts? What did you think of the movie?
I thought it was really good. It's really one of the better horror movies I've seen in a while.
Yeah, I remember you saying in the theater like it actually scared you, and not much scares him.
I know. Not much anymore. I'm too dead inside. But despite its like very graphic violence and like toward women, it didn't make me feel like the way the movie hates women the way like something like Terrifier 2 is like I hate women.
Terrifier 2.
But I don't know. I just want to like touch on that for a second because there's a lot of graphic violence in this movie.
It really is. I think that this movie did the graphic violence way better than Terrifier 2.
Yeah.
Like it was like more tasteful. It didn't feel so out of place. Like Terrifier 2, it just felt like I don't know how to describe it. Like just like gruesome porn. Like I don't know. Like just like terror porn. That's what it felt like. Like just like I just. It's just in the bed playing with the guts, like. But this was like a tasteful gruesome.
Yeah, that is true. And like, I was a little worried that, despite like mainly it was taking place all in an apartment building, I thought it was gonna get stale, but it really doesn't, which is kind of impressive. And I think part of that is kind of due to the set design, where like each room either has its own like very particular color or has a very different feel to it. Like the kitchen being mainly white with patterns, the bathroom being yellow and green. The kind of the main room, it's kind of wood with like the ceiling and the couch and stuff. We had the record player room, which had the ceiling tiling and other stuff, whereas the kids' room, had the bed and other stuff, kind of really differentiate everything very effectively.
Yeah, when I was like watching the trailer, I was worried because I was like, how are they gonna make this like go on? Because the mom's gonna be in the apartment. Like if the monster is like there, then like how are you running from the monster? Like
Yeah.
it just you're just gonna run room from room, which they kind of did, but they still did it in like a fresh and interesting way for them to be stuck where they were stuck. And then you pointed out that they were stuck on the 13th floor, which is actually the 14th floor.
Well, it's stuck on the 14th floor, but that's actually the 13th floor in most buildings, yeah.
Because
13 is, an unlucky number, and most buildings intentionally don't have a 13th floor because it's unlucky.
One thing I also really liked about the movie is how they didn't shy away from hurting children, which horror movies do. Like the scene where the little boy, like he was chasing him, I thought he was going to get away for a second, or they were going to let him into the room. But no, you just see him fall back. She ripped his arms off. I was like, oh my God.
He does get killed a little off screen, but there are other kids that really get messed up on screen.
Well, he dies on screen though, because his arms get ripped off, but then he falls and like you see what happens to him on screen versus like I feel like any other thing, like they wouldn't like touch the kid at all, or you wouldn't see that.
Yeah, you would hear him like scream off screen, and then like you might see his body later.
Like you'll see him like little tennis shoe or something. Like, you won't see him, which I thought was like really interesting.
Yeah, and I looked into this a little bit, and it's not technically part of like Evil Dead continuity, like the first two movies and Army of Darkness and Ash vs. Evil Dead. Though the director kind of wants it to be down the line, and there's obvious homages to other Evil Dead stuff, like there's a chainsaw, there's a shotgun, there's that particular look, especially that like Bruce Campbell has, where he's just like covered in blood and running around with kind of this reverse POV shot. That's all represented in this movie.
I never saw any of the other Evil Dead because after I watched the first one in that tree scene, I was like, this is too much. Just so you guys may know the tree scene I'm talking about. If not, Google it. But after that, it was like, I don't think I can do this. So I never saw another Evil Dead movie. But I saw the trailer for this one. I was like, okay, well, it looks interesting. So I started to watch it. And the things that you pointed out, like the homages were interesting because like I had no idea as somebody who never seen the movies before, but it was cool that you were able to like recognize those things. The girl being covered in blood, the main lady when she's leaving, I forgot her name, the groupie. We'll get into that. She as she's leaving, like when she's covered in blood, it reminded me of Carrie. And it's like they also this movie also like draws in on another like other horror movies as well. Like when they're in the elevator trying to escape and it fills with blood and wishes out, like that's a
yeah.
And also Hereditary when she got into the vents because of the kitten. The kitten showed her the way into the vents. And she was like kind of crawling on the ceiling behind the aunt who was listening to the record player.
Oh yeah,
that was Hereditary. Yeah,
and she's like climbing on the wall in the living room. Yeah.
And also she's banging her head against the wall, against the door. Like the mother is banging her head against the door. The mother, Hereditary, banged her head really hard against the ceiling in Hereditary to get to the son in the attic.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, this is like a lot of like different horror things piled in. I thought it was like really interesting.
Yeah, a lot of them, a lot of movies you'll see someone like kind of get stabbed right through the hand and kind of prepping for this, watch the trailer for actually Eat First Evil Dead. And that happens right in the trailer for that. I'm like, I don't know that's exactly another homage, but it very much could be.
I don't know because in Scream, didn't she get stabbed in her hand too? When she held, I think it's like a reaction thing.
So,
like you hold your hand up and then the killer's like, I don't care, and just like stab you anyway through it.
You know what? That's true. But I'm gonna say it is. But and as much as we're talking about kind of just the pure gratuity of the movie and kind of shock value for some stuff, it does also have that Evil Dead kind of campiness or silliness to it. Because when the title card plays, we both laughed so hard because it's really kind of silly.
It was very silly. I wasn't expecting it.
Yeah, I was not either.
And it made me nervous because I was like, oh, this is going to be a bad movie because what is this? What am I supposed to do with this right here? But it was not the case at all.
No.
It was interesting how they find a way to make you laugh but also terrify you.
Yeah.
I hope the laugh scenes were intentional. Like, I hope it was intentional.
I think it has to be because like the other Evil Dead stuff is kind of silly like that.
Because even if it wasn't, it still definitely works. It definitely does. Can we talk about the mother?
Of course.
Terrifying.
Yeah.
She was terrifying. She completely disfigured. The eyes that they did, like the makeup, special effects. Especially that doorbell scene where they're looking at her through the doorbell.
Yeah.
Oh.
It is like she does a really good job. Like I don't think I've seen her anything else, but she is really good in this. Just from like there's a little effects on it, but like the delivery of mommy's with the maggots now is just it's so good.
When she smiles, she's like, open up now.
Yeah.
And it's like just like her voice changes between the mom's voice and the demon's voice, and it's like it kind of mixes. Ooh, it's just shivers down my spine just looking at her. Like that they've made such a good like monster, like terrifying. And the other ones were too as well.
Yeah.
The daughter when she got transformed, her eyes looked really good.
Yes, yeah. All of them had like kind of different colored eyes. Because the mom had like white, she had like orange. For like different demons. Because I guess there's a lot of them from the book that are I guess released. Yeah. I want to talk about real quick. Just I really love the way the book looks. I love like the teeth on it. Like whoever drew all the stuff that's inside it, incredible. But you need to talk to a therapist. It's really impressive.
It's really funny about that book because that book tried so hard to keep you out of it. Like you cannot open it unless you literally bleed on it. And they still found a way to do that.
Yeah.
And fuck everything up. Oh my gosh. But yeah, and then let's talk about that groupie, the auntie.
What was her name? Was she Christy or
I'm just gonna call her the groupie.
Oh, the groupie? Okay.
Yeah. So she was so upset at being called a groupie. And I just thought it was so like funny. She's like, I'm not a groupie.
Yeah,
and they just kept using that Beth. And they just kept using like that like thing to get to her, like especially the demon, like to try to get to her.
Yeah.
It was like, I'm not a groupie. She would get so pissed off. But like in the movie, like when it's like after the opening scene, we go to her and we find out that she's actually pregnant.
Mm.
It's not implied that she has a boyfriend or anything. So, and she works as a, what did she say? She's a guitar technician, like lead guitar technician. Yeah, so she is a roadie. She is on the road.
Yeah.
She doesn't have a boyfriend. Who could get her pregnant? I think it was someone from the band.
I do too, and I agree that like the mom definitely saying that like she's a groupie kind of like, you know, ties into that.
It really bugs her. And I'm like, for sure someone from the band. But I like how the groupie, I don't want to say the groupie unmarried harlot. Because, you know, in movies, like, usually they're not the ones who survive. But in this, she survives. She's everything that, like, the main girl who usually doesn't die is, like, she's the complete opposite of that. And she actually survives, which I thought was interesting, too. And I'm like, that's way more progressive than the tree scene. The tree scene. That's way more progressive than the first Evil Dead movie. And I really appreciate that.
Though, I'm going to knock a couple points. The movie does say life begins at conception. So, you know, I'm going to dock a couple points there, but...
It doesn't say directly. What do they say? What do they say?
Like, ooh, another soul for me to take.
Yeah, the mom's on the groupie, and she's like, I'm going to take your soul. And then she smells her belly all creepy, like...
Second soul. And I'm like, wait a second here. Yeah.
So, yeah, that was really funny. Although, I think that lady is definitely not having that baby, because the mom definitely dug her nails into that woman's stomach. There's no more baby. I don't like...
Probably not. Depends how big. I would say probably depends how long. Like, she didn't seem very far along.
Oh, yeah, true.
Maybe there's not a lot of baby there to, like, you know, scoop out.
Maybe. Because, like, the little girl in the movie, like, the youngest daughter was like, are you going to be a mommy? And the aunt was like, yeah. And I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah,
we just saw you. You just saw her dig into your stomach.
Yeah, honestly, I thought you showed up because you're like, Mom, I'm going to get an abortion. That's honestly what I thought was going to happen. Though they don't say that directly, it's kind of what I'm implying.
That's what I think so, too, because when she sits there with her sister, the mom, when the groupie sits there, Beth.
Yeah,
when Beth sits there with the mom.
Ellie.
When Beth sits there with Ellie, she's like, I screwed up again, and I need your help. So that definitely implies, like, she doesn't intend to be a mother. But I think towards that, like, the end, after trying to keep all the kids safe and everything, the little girl asks her, are you going to be a mommy too? She's like, yeah. And that just confirms that she actually wants the baby. Yeah. Which is interesting.
Yeah, it's also played on a lot in the movie, where there's, like, a very core theme of family. And she, Beth, doesn't have the best relationship with Ellie, her mom. You know, as we talk about the whole groupie thing, and just in general, where she wasn't even told that their dad, you know, has left them. Like, she's like, I would have been home, you know, to support the family, you know, if you had just told me. But, you know, she, you know, we don't exactly know why they're not, you know, talking.
She did tell her. She left her a voicemail, and she, like, it was 2 months ago, and she never called her back.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think she even listened to it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? That's true. That's a good point. Yeah, she doesn't listen to it till later.
Yeah.
Which is definitely on her. And maybe there's some other stuff between them where, like, she didn't, you know, she played some earlier voicemails, but, like, maybe, like, her and her mom were in a good place, so she just stopped picking up the voicemails there. It's not hard to clear, but that's okay. Ellie and Beth. Because, like, if you don't listen to a voicemail for a few months, there's clearly, like, other kind of stuff going on. At least that's my kind of interpretation of that.
I take it as Beth being, like, you know, she's on the road a lot, which is like one of her excuses. I think it just goes to show how disconnected she was from her family and how immature she was, because when your older sister calls you, like, you, like, blow her off for months, but then when you need her once again, you come running and expecting her to help you. So I think it shows, like, her immaturity.
Mom.
That's her mother. I mean, that's her sister.
Oh, yeah, because you're right, because...
yeah, that's the kid's auntie.
Yeah, no, you're right, because because he talks about you're gonna fail like your mom.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, okay, you're right. I don't. Yeah, I was getting them mixed up. Yeah.
That's the thing. So I think it just goes to show, like, how immature she was, and then throughout this movie, she had to become an adult. She had to take care of all these three children, and try to keep them safe, which she failed at. Except for one. But she tried, and she did it. At least she was one.
Yeah.
The mom literally, at the point she was like, before she actually, like, the possession fully happens, she's like, don't let them take my babies.
Yeah.
And then she throws up ectoplasm everywhere. And Beth let her take two of the babies. But it was a lot. It was a lot to deal with. Like, I wouldn't know what I would do in that situation.
I mean, look, she tried. Like, one of the kids, she couldn't really do anything about that. Like, the moment, like, that was kind of already over.
Yeah, but like while Emma, what's her name?
Yes.
The mom?
Oh, Ellie.
Ellie. While Ellie, when she was possessed, was on top of the oldest daughter and trying to like do the tattoo thing to her.
Yeah.
Beth was just sitting there wrapping up her hands, and I'm like,
True.
I understand because at the time Beth just got stabbed in the hand, and like I understand, like you want to get that handled, but she's literally on top of her. Like that could have been like I don't know. I feel like she could have helped her and then did her hand.
Yeah, that's
like
fair.
You're not gonna like. Are you gonna bleed out from your hands? I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
Like she could have waited to wrap it up, but so then that caused the oldest daughter to get. Ooh, maybe it's like another thing of her being selfish, like immature. She was like selfish. She's like, I'm gonna wrap my hand really fast. Like we see a scene of her literally wrapping her hand while the girl's on top, like while Ellie's on top, tattooing.
Yeah. Beth? No.
The oldest daughter.
Yeah. Bridget.
Yeah, while she's on
Cassie.
top,
Cassie was the youngest, and Danny was the middle son.
Okay. Yeah. Let's talk about these kills.
Okay.
What was your favorite one?
Ooh, I think the eyeball double kill. Because that one is pretty silly and it's really great. Like she sort of just bites the eyeball off one of the neighbor kids and just into the other kid's mouth and just chokes it. It's incredible. Like
it was really
it's so silly. It's great.
I don't know. I'm torn between either the little kid because I like getting his arms ripped off because I didn't expect it, or when she grabbed the neighbor and kind of like dragged him like around or something like through the door, like she was underneath him. We didn't see how he died necessarily. I think it has to be a little kid though, just for shock value, because I'm like, I didn't expect it. I did not expect them to do that to this little child. So like, that's really good.
There kind of is a particular camera movement and like style that Sam Raimi does. This movie tries to do a few times, but I don't know what particular thing about it they're doing that it just doesn't hit right for me.
What else has Sam Raimi directed? I don't think I've seen any of it. Films.
Well, the two Evil Dead's Army of Darkness. Got back here. Darkman. The first three Spider-Man movies with Tobey Maguire. And Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness.
Cool.
Are the ones I can name. I know he's done some. He said he'd done The Invitation.
Oh,
right?
Yes, The Invitation.
And probably a couple more than that I cannot remember off the top of my head.
Okay.
But I don't know. I guess what did you think about that particular camera movement?
I did not notice it.
Okay.
Necessarily, the only time I really noticed any like really weird movement was when they got into the car and the door shut and then like you could tell the camera was on the door because it shut with like it jiggled when the door shut. That's the only time I could tell.
Okay.
Other than that, the movement. I don't think there was anything. There wasn't anything immediately that jumped out to my eye as special or like really like, oh, I like how they did that, like for the movement wise. But you obviously noticed something. Yeah,
because it's just like a particular thing that he always does or usually does, where the camera itself is like moving in like a very, I guess, living way is the best way to put it. Not necessarily like the door shot there, but like where that drone comes through in the opening, where it or when they're that shot where the force is like moving towards the apartment building, where it's like has a lot of kind of like a lot of left and right movement, but it's like very aggressive, like moving towards the wherever our characters are.
Gotcha.
Like it's coming for them. That kind of stuff. Like I think it works outside the apartment building, but that drone shot, I don't know, it just feels off. Maybe it's because they actually used a drone for it. Not 100% certain on that. I guess the other thing I wanted to mention, there aren't a lot of like monsters in this besides the mom, and that works okay. It's like a very human monster. But towards the end, they make this amalgamation of the mom and the kids, being like a full family. And I was worried it would look kind of goofy, but I think it's not it not CGI. I thought it looked really good, and it moved really
when
like
it started moving. I didn't think it was gonna move that fast. That actually scared me.
Yeah, I think that looked really cool. It kind of reminded me of like the practical effects of like something like the Blob, or not. Sorry, not the Blob. It's the Thing. Yeah,
the Thing.
Yeah, the Thing. Whereas it's very organic in its movement. I'm like, yes, this is what I want out of like my really Cronenberg-esque creature things. You know, I was very freaked out, but like excited for that just kind of movement. I think those are the last couple of things that I had to think of.
Yeah. So we recommend Evil Dead Rise, even though I think it should be called Evil Dead Rising.
I think you'll rise out of your seat for this movie.
Oh my God! Cut the camera. Cut the camera.
But yeah, no, it is very good. I guess I have to go back and watch the other stuff this guy's directed to see, what else he's really done. Because now I'm kind of excited for anything else he does in the future, or any like new Evil Dead stuff that kind of either comes out of this or from where this goes here.
Oh yeah, we are supposed to watch all the Evil Dead movies, but we're skipping the first one, Tracy. Can't do it. I cannot do it. But yeah, guys, thanks so much for hanging out with us. So make sure you hit the like and subscribe button, and we will see you next week.
And possibly hit that bell for anything else.
Oh yeah, the bell.
Yeah, smash that bell button.
Smash that bell button. All right, guys.
Bye.